Hello. 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 I hope you are hearing me. Yes. Today we will talk about construction tech opportunities. I think it's an interesting topic, and of course, it's a wide topic. There are a lot of things we can talk, but it will be, of course, a short presentation. Please make comment about which topics are interesting for you, and we can talk more about them after, and we can make a new presentations about it. Yes, I have a presentation I want to share with you. Yes. Yes, we are. Yes, we will talk about construction tech opportunities. Generally, in digital transformation of the construction sector, uh, this is an interesting topic because construction sector is so traditional, and companies and individuals are in different level in the tech stack. Some people are using paper forms, some are using some tablets, and other using AI solutions. So in the sector, people are in different stages of the technology. I think this is very interesting, and so we can talk about it a bit. But first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Aydın Özçekiç. I am founder of Botmore Technology. Basically, we are working on construction sector about AI solutions and how the technology can be more beneficial for the construction sector. We are working on that. In my background, I am civil engineer, and then I've worked on construction technology side and different technology development projects for technology for the construction sector. So I had different experiences from the BIM to AI in the construction side and construction and the design side of the sector. So I saw a lot of problem there, of course, and they are going on. Uh, Generally, first of all, we can look how the construction sector technology, how construction technology outlook. There are a lot of different tools and technology on the market, and maybe the most famous one is the BIM, Building Information Modeling. And of course, cloud is using very effectively. Uh, Unfortunately, construction companies have some resistance. Some of the construction companies have some resistance about the cloud usage. There's some concerns about security, but cloud has a lot of advantages for the sector. And the prefabrication is coming, of course, and we can combine it 3D printers and prefabrication. This always we are talking about always about prefabrication because one of the main problems of the construction sector, we are producing construction buildings or civil structures on site generally. So prefabrication make us our sector like manufacturing, and it will be more. We can automate it, and we can increase our productivity. So prefabrication are always talking about it. We are talking about it, and in 2022, I think there will be an increase in the prefabrication side too. CDE is Common Data Environment. This is another important topic for the construction technology area. We're always talking about different tools, different data collection services, and of course IoT, that kind of things. But at the end, all this data should be used on same page. We call that common data environment. Different subcontractors, different contractors, designers should work on same data environment. And this seems not a big deal, but it's very important because if you don't create a common data environment for the project, for the company, or for the ecosystem level by level, it's not possible to use the data effectively and to provide coordination for the projects. And the laser scanning or scanning of the construction site, I think after COVID-19, it is very, very useful because you can scan all the construction site and you can compare it with the model and you can take different reports about the progress. I think it's very important because people can, because of COVID-19, cannot make visual checks easily. And so laser scanning makes people's life easier. And of course, it is already using in renovation works because there's an existing building and we are scanning it and then we are working on it to make our new project. So we can call that kind of project as more stars, but of course, there's a high potential things, especially for the construction sector. We can say the BI, business intelligence. I think this is very interesting because everything depends on the data, and in the construction sector, we can produce a lot of data. We are producing, but in some points, some companies they couldn't. But there are a lot of places we can produce data. So we can use this data to make some analysis and to understand the data more deeply and take insight from it. So construction-specific business intelligence tool will be very important. And of course, basically, we can say that we can make some templates to understand how the data is affecting our project. On the other hand, of course, business intelligence gives a lot of different insights we can play on. We can create different insights using cross-matching of different data. I talk about a bit 5G. 5G is very important because in the construction sites, generally we don't have a good internet connection. And 5G gives us a big opportunity because it increases internet capacity and we can use different tools about the visualization, about AR, VR, that kind of things we can use more easier because 5G gives us power to connect the internet easily and use it more effectively. And other thing is we can connect sensors to the cloud easier. NLP, maybe you know, maybe you don't. NLP is natural language processing. What does it mean? It is sub-branch of AI, and generally it use it to understand the text meaning. We are analyzing text, or of course speech, to understand its meaning and to classify it without need of a human interaction. For example, you are creating an issue about a design, or you are describing a problem, and then automatically an NLP tool can summarize it, can find the critical points of it, and can understand what you're trying to say automatically. This is one of the research areas of AI, and I think it's important for the construction sector too. Of course, I will show some examples about it, just I try to give a general idea. And variables, I think you heard about it. There's a lot of variables in the construction sector for people are using. Data science is a bit related to BI, but it is deeper than the BI. In the BI, generally, we understand the analytic. In the data science, we are making more deep analysis about the data. And of course, after the data science, we are reaching AI. First, we need the data. Then we should have to analyze data. Then, of course, if you understood the data, we start to use AI to make this data more meaningful and to create some tools depends on the data. Side, people are talking about too much. There are different technologies. I try to summarize some of them, but people are in general talking about these technologies. And We are talking about these, but first of all, we have to look construction sector. I think data collection is a critical thing, and how people are collect data. Uh, Now people are using paper forms, and of course it is decreasing, but they are continuing to use it. On spreadsheets is the second thing. Is interesting, and spreadsheets are people are using to collect data spreadsheets, and in construction sector, Excel is very popular. And then now new trend is custom design software and commercial softwares. All data should be collected with that kind of software because it is critical to use this data in real time. Unfortunately, the paper forms in the spreadsheet, this data is living in a separate silos, and this is not a good thing to work on it. And to create new tools, we need data live. Because of that, custom design software and commercial software usage will increase. And if you look from two perspectives, from the one of the company perspective, of course, as a company, you have to change your strategy of how you are collecting data. And this data is clear. And of course, the second question, how you will use this data on your daily progress, on daily works. From the individual perspective, the people working on the construction sector should add new abilities about using different software to collect data. I think this is very, very important. And in that point, software is not a very critical thing. I think the most critical thing is the process, how you will collect data, and of course, in the background, how you will use this data. Sorry. And then, of course, we are coming to BIM adoption. I think BIM is using a very long time. I think it's 10 years people are using BIM. And now in the UK, for example, 73% of construction companies using BIM. So we see that construction sector is very adapted to the BIM because of different reasons. One of them is BIM started to become mandatory, and especially in the government projects. And other things is, of course, BIM has advantages for the owner side, especially for the facility management. So this increased the adoption of BIM in 2021. Of course, the UK is one of the best in this adoption, but Germany is coming back, and Poland and other countries is lower. But of course, there's a huge growth potential. So if you look to BIM is very important, of course, for the construction sector. But on the other hand, it is just an entrance point. Model is for us is object-oriented database for us, right? And it is very critical to create a design data to digitize the design data and use it in different stages of the construction. BIM is very, very critical. Of course, you can add different level of BIM 4D, BIM 5D, and one is you are adding the time schedule, and the other is you are adding cost top of this database. But at the end, BIM is your entry point for this technology adoption, technology transformation of the sector, and of course, it's critical. And of course, if you look from the individual people working on the construction sector, you should embrace the BIM. You should understand its meaning. It's not just a modeling tool. It's not just 3D. It's a different thing. You should understand it is carrying data. So if you start to look to model as a data source, I think a lot of things will change. Your approach will change to the model, and you start to find different solutions, different approach for construction management, and of course design management. Yes, if I say BIM is not enough, you should go beyond BIM, because BIM alone does not guarantee designs are constructible. BIM alone does not coordinate detailing. BIM alone does not optimize the fabrication process. BIM alone does not ensure fast and efficient installation. And BIM alone does not facilitate long-term structural maintenance. So if you look at BIM just a tool for us, just a foundation, we need, of course, columns and a building top of it to make it more valuable for us. Because of that, don't just say that, oh, we are doing BIM, we are good in technology. This is not a reality. Yes, you should be good at BIM, you should use BIM effectively, and you should of course manage BIM processes better and better. But at the end, you should create common data environment for everyone and use this data effectively. Of course, when we talk about BIM, and of course, we have to talk about a bit the future of 3D scanning. 3D scanning is, I think, is a perfect thing, and it is cheaper now, and it will be cheaper day by day, year by year, because this technology, you know that in iPhones, lidar capable iPhones can scan easily places, volumes. So I think because of that, this technology are more reachable at the moment, and it is very, very useful because you are making a model, and model is not the reality. And of course, in the reality, you are making the construction, and it is not easy to check every detail and then come to model and make this change on the model and try to go as built model. Of course, this is the normal process, but 3D scanning change all this process and make it easier and accurate. I think this is very, very important, and there's a huge future there, because if you use a future 3D scanning more effectively and more integrated with the BIM, you can make auto control, safety checks, that kind of things easily. And of course, this is data too. 3D scanning creating a real world data, and BIM is design data. So if you combine this data together, you can create good insights for your project. And of course, it creates a transparency for everybody. Of course, in the construction sector, transparency always is a problem. But at the end, we are going there. It has to be transparent. So in that point, I think 3D scanning will play an important role. And I think you know about it, augmented reality technologies for architecture and construction. Again, all technologies start to be cheap, and this is cheaper now because you can reach that kind of technology easier. And you can use in different ways in the project management to understand the details and to, of course, to check the quality and increase productivity of your teams. Now, it is interesting, but the construction sector has a huge labor and skill shortage, and it will increase. Maybe the coming years we will have more and more labor shortage and of course skill shortage, because people don't want to go to construction sector and they don't take trainings about the construction abilities. So it is not easy to find skilled workers. On the other hand, for the engineers, architects, it is not easy to find, again, using the high-tech solutions, people who use the high-tech solutions. So there's a huge gap here about in the construction sector. So if you look at augmented reality, give us a training option too, and it makes our sector is more productive, and people start to take role in our sector because of that kind of technologies. And if you look for from the individual side, individual engineers, architects, of course, should understand new technologies, should develop new skills about it. For example, normally an architect don't spend time about software development or coding, that kind of things, or they don't spend a lot of time about new technology and new innovation development. But believe me, I think everything is changing. So Try to learn new things about coding, about new technology implementations, about how you try to not just be a consumer, try to understand how these technologies are working, because it's important for the future. In the future, all different expertise areas will be matching and will create new skill sets for the people. And so we have to prepare this new area. So I think it's important. Yes, I talk about it, prefabrication and 3D printers. Just I want to show a small sample about it. This is one of the examples. Of course, you can find other things, but I think it's a cool example. This is a 3D printer. Now you are seeing it. And it is working and creating a room for us. I think in 1 day or 1 hour, I'm not sure now. No, 1 day, in 24 hours. It's creating. Now we are seeing that as this technology will develop, of course, there are a way to go, but as you see, it is very fast tracking, and new technologies are coming so fast. Now, as you see, this is working. Of course, there's different types of it. I'm doing the bigger ones, and of course, but I think the good examples how technology is going on. Yeah, this is one example, of course. And of course, we talk about the skill shortage, and we couldn't find labor, a special skilled labor. So in that point, we come a point. Can use robots, and of course, this technology is coming again. Of course, in early stages, but I can say that 2 years ago it's more different. Now it is again a bit cheaper, and I start to see different places that kind of technology. It's a short sample. Yes, as you see, it's working again, doing the jobs. It's so short, but that kind of robotic solutions are start to increase. Of course, you can use video and video data, and matching this data with the different data. You can make different insights. You can create different insights. So video screening are using very effectively on the construction sector too. Yes. Yeah. If we talk about new tech requirements of the sector, first we talk about it, but data is very critical. And after cloud and 5G, I can talk together, fast internet connection, and the second is the cloud. Why cloud is important? Because it provides huge computing power. So we can use AI, machine learning, or different data analysis easily. For example, if you are using sensors, Internet of Things, for example, your machinery, you are collect enormous of data. So you need cloud power in that kind of things to create effective solutions. And afterwards, of course, people are a lot of time talking about machine learning, AI. These are a bit buzzwords. People like to talk about them, but these are important. Because why these are important? If you have a small data, for example, if you can play it on Excel, for example, and you can create a report. You can understand what is going on there, and you can make a conditional formatting, and you make that, this, for example, this equipment need maintenance. You can understand creating some simple algorithms just with the small data. But when the data start to bigger and bigger and bigger, you can't do this. You can't do 1 million row. You can't manage 1 million row Excel sheet just looking at, okay? So in that point, you need some different tools. So one of them is the machine learning, because machine learning just learning from data and create patterns to solve the other problems. I think this is a very easy thing. So in that point, machine learning can help you. So for every problem, you don't need machine learning, but in a point you will need. For the construction sector, there are different data sources from the design, from machinery, employees, contracts, planning tools, ERP, specifications, handbooks. We can increase the number of this. There are a lot of things on the construction side and the design. So in the design, for example, BIM, CAD, issues, other documents, and machinery performance, technical features, specs, and employee know-how, performance reports, issues. So as you look there, you can see a lot of data. Unfortunately, these data are in different silos. Different things are managed by different software, and all this generally, this software is not connected each other. So this create separate data lakes, and we couldn't manage data effectively. What we will do at that point? Because first of all, we should understand what kind of data we have and how we can manage it effectively, and what kind of data we can collect and what kind we can't. Some data like is going somewhere. We couldn't catch it. For example, employees know-how. It's not easy to catch that kind of information. You can't say, please write your know-how to the report, because this is personal experience. And it is not catch that kind of data. For example, issues. Yes, there's some issue management tools to understand what is going on the construction side, but unfortunately, people not register their issues very properly. So if you look from this perspective, we need a general concept for the data collection and data management. Because of that, first of all, I think one of the most important thing is to create a data system, especially for documents, design, and other kinds of things. You should have a document system. Of course, there's a standards about it. BS 1192 is a good standard for it, and to manage the data in different stages, work in progress, share it, publish it, and archive. So, and we have to create some checkpoints and review points in this data flow, and we create open standards for the data. If you open your data between the projects and between the companies, everything starts to be easier. Unfortunately, in the construction sector, in the same company, different projects don't share their data with each other. I think this is very, very big problem, because you need this data and it can make difference in your workflow and it is in your performance. Unfortunately, this doesn't work in effectively in the sector, but is one of the big problems, and it have to solve. Yes, and we come again the common data environment. I talk a bit about it. Common data environment. I think it is clearly to create a common data environment for all the project and all the company. And there is some case study about it. The total cost of rework in construction cost is 6%. I think it's a huge number. 6% for the rework in a construction site is a huge number. And according to FMI research, miscommunication and poor project data accounts for 48% of all rework. This means that just if you implement common data environment effectively, if you work on it and you make it better, you can make 3 or 4% cost decrease in construction project. Now, there's BIM managers on the construction projects. I know that. I believe that in the coming years, there will be common data environment specialists or common data environment managers. I think this will come because BIM is just as a part of it. There will be different data sources you have to manage and to integrate this common data environment. I think this is very critical. And if you talk about that kind of solutions, we have to talk about a bit digital twin. I think you heard about it again. If you talk about the BIM, digital twin is next stage. Yes, BIM is digital world, as you know, and it is very important because normally Designer use BIM. Sometimes, of course, they are using 2D CAD, and they transform it 3D BIM. I think it's not a good way to do it, but people are working like that. But theoretically, we should start with the BIM, from the concept, of course, to the as-built model. And of course, designed model will be carried to as-built model, and with the upgrades, updates in the construction process, and it will reach the as-built model. This is the expected process in the basically in the BIM. But BIM is not just for the construction. You are creating an important data source, object-oriented data source. Why I am saying always object-oriented data source again and again? Because in the model there are objects, and these objects, for example, an air conditioner is an object for us, and this object has different features. And these features are about its cost, can be about technical specifications, and you can add all this data up to this object. So this object is not just valuable for the construction process, it's more valuable for the facility management, for the operation and maintenance. So if you look there, we are going to digital twin. Digital twin is not a magic. Just we are adding new features top of the BIM. One is IoT. We are putting sensors to the real building, and the sensors giving data, a new data about the building, and we are using this data in our model, and we are creating some insights about it. So it's important. For example, energy consumption is important about it. If you have sensors about to measure the energy consumption, then you understand how this building is consuming the energy. And then you start to ask questions to you. Why, for example, in these months, for example, winter, we are spending more energy about the heating. Can we do it better? So maybe you can use a different isolation method. You can change something, and you can decrease your energy costs. So this is just a sample, of course. You can use different things in airports, in manufacturing fabrics, in different places. You can use digital twin concept. And of course, it gives analytics to you. You start to play with the data. And again, this data is very, very interesting because you are using this. There's a huge data. You can call it big data. You can make a machine learning analysis, and you can start to understand what is going on the building. For example, you can predict maintenance periods. You can catch different problems beforehand on the building. So I think this is very important to understand what is going on this building. And other thing is real-time operational data, and how the operation is going on, your operational performance about the building. Of course, digital twin will open a new door for us. We'll start collecting important data from the living building or living facility. And then we can combine all these digital twins and create more about so, and we can take different precautions about energy consumption, about carbon zero targets. So it is directly related to, of course, sustainability. Yes, we talk about the data collection. There are a lot of pitfalls in the data collection. I personally lived in the construction sites. Of course, digitalization always a problem. Less or more, people are using paper forms on the construction site. When I see a paper on the construction site, I feel so miserable because it's a big problem for me. Yeah, somebody registers some data to the paper, and I have to digitize it to use in my processes. And which technology I am using to digitize it, I'm losing time. So it's not a good way to do it, but we have to change it. We have, first of all, we have fully digitized construction sector. And of course, Second thing is cloud usage. I talk about a bit. Cloud usage is critical, and we have to open use the cloud. Of course, there's mixed use. You can use cloud and on-premise together. There's of course there are different solutions for it. If you have some data very confidential, you don't have to put it on cloud, but you don't say that I don't want to use cloud. This is not a good way to do to use new technologies, and you close your new innovations. I think it's not a good way. And another problem is low standardization in workflows. When we talk about the construction workflows, I don't know if you know or not, but in your daily works, generally we don't have a real workflows in the projects. It is interestingly, we are managing our projects. Yes, there are maybe some theoretical workflows, but we are managing our projects with just talking, solving problems, with calling each other, sending some WhatsApp messages. So it is very, very informal. So it is not a good way to do this. And then it starts to be a coordination problem, because especially coordination problem between design, construction, and facility management. In the construction sector, always there is a stress on different departments. Especially, for example, design team says that we did the design perfect, but they don't implement properly, and the construction teams say that we don't have time to do it, and designs are not so clear. So people are always blame each other. This blaming culture is affecting construction sector so much. So BIM, for example, is a coordination base for us. And of course, there's different things, lean construction, agile in construction, but all of them saying that we have to work together, okay? We have to work on together to solve the problems on the side. We couldn't do anything blaming each other, and we are doing this. I'm always hearing about it. People are blaming each other. We are doing our job wonderful, but blah blah, don't do it. Sometimes it can be a subcontractor, sometimes it can be a designer. Please don't do this. For example, in manufacturing sector, in the automotive sector, nobody says that. Okay, so I think it's a cultural problem. I think it is very important. And if we are coming a point, some points we don't have an internet connection. Of course, there's a different solutions for if you don't have a internet connection, you can use different things to solve it. But it's a big problem. If you are working a place with a no internet connection, you should find a solution for it. You should connect different tools, and you have to create a network for your company. Because without internet connection or any connection between different things using different technologies, for example, LoRaWAN, if you don't have that kind of solutions on your side, you are cutting a big opportunity. You are giving up a big opportunity. I think this is a big problem. And BIM without data. Unfortunately, there is some BIM works without data. It's interesting, but people just modeling something. Yes, it seems cool. Yeah, they are using general Revit. Yes, but this is not the mean of the BIM. And then people start to say that return of investment of BIM is low because, sorry, because you are not implementing this technology effectively, and you don't use BIM tools to create a data system. You just create a visual. If you do that, of course, it has some advantages for clash detection or some visualizations, okay, but it doesn't carry you the point people try to reach, okay? So if you have a project and if you start to work on it, please make a BIM strategy plan for you. It is not just about the modeling detail, okay? People are always talking about modeling detail of the BIM. Yes, detail will be blah blah, will be blah blah. This is not the problem it's not about the detail. It's about first start with what you want to do with the model, okay? How you will use this model in different ways. And when you decide this, then other problems easily can solve. And try to create a coordination uh, process top of the beam. I think this is very, very critical. If you don't create a coordination process, sometimes people just making some rooms, beam coordination room. Nobody are going there, and there are a lot of big screens there, and some meetings are doing there, but people really don't coordinate, just making sure. Please, for your company and for yourself, be aware that it's not a big, it's not a rocket science. You just share the data with each other in a proper way, and please design it as a workflow, and everybody know about it, what you are trying to do. And there are a lot of tools you can use. Tool is not a critical thing, but of course, select some tools you can use to realize this workflow. But at the end, please think about it. I think it's critical. It's critical than the family creation. It's critical than just buying some big screens to watch the model. Okay. So, of course, other pitfall is rework in the constructions activities. People are, I think, like rework in the construction site. They are always living problems about it. They are always complaining about it. They say that, oh, there are a lot of rework, we don't like it, but nobody tries to find solution it, because people on the construction side, especially construction side, like to find uh, instant solutions to the problems. They like it because they feel like they are like hero of the construction site. But this is not like that. This is, you should create systems to solve the problems, not your experience, just a tool to solve the problems. It's not a good way to do it, because you are a person, you are a human being, and you can skip some details, and then this is a cost problem, and at the end you won't be happy about it. I think you shouldn't be, at least. Yes, I'll talk about cloud so much. I'd give a lot of information about it. But of course, cloud, from the security side, cloud is not a bad. So it's a good way to create security. And of course, you can add new capabilities on your data, because different cloud providers like Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud provides you new tools you can use top of your data. For example, just I want to give, there's some machine learning tools in the Google Cloud. You can use your data, and there's no needing to coding. You don't need make any coding. You just put your data to this tool, AutoML tool. Then it gives some different options to you. You select these options. That it makes some predictions using your data, and you can make these experiments without need any coding experience, without need any technology experience, because you can solve it and trying it iteratively. So as you see, technology is going in interesting place. Maybe in a point you don't need a software developer to do a lot of things. You can do it in your team. You can solve a lot of technology problem. So from this point of view, we have, as I want to say again, we have to change our skill set. We're not just engineers. We are not just architects. We are not just uh, construction site teams. We are at the same time technology solution providers ourselves, because we have to understand what is going on. Yes, there's different tools you can buy. Of course, there's some experts. You can take some consultation, of course. But at the end, you should understand what you can do with these technologies. And it is not very hard to do. And you can learn from different sources. And please make comment if what you want to learn about it. Maybe we can arrange that kind of webinars or things together. Yes. Yes, artificial intelligence needs a strong foundation. Uh, yes, day by day you will hear more AI powered solutions, AI. But at the end, of course, should have an interface to touch the people. As both more technology, we are generally use chatbots for integration, for interaction with the people. Chatbots are basically can think like Siri for the construction sector. You can talk to it, or you can just message it, and you can take replies. Of course, in the background using machine learning or AI algorithms. And I talk about at the beginning NLP, natural language processing, and natural language processing is the basic technology chatbots are using in the backend. So generally, you say something to chatbot as a text or as a voice, and then it try to understand intent of these sentences, and it tries to give proper answer to you. So chatbots, I think, is a good way to make that kind of interface. Of course, you can use mobile applications or robots are a good interface for AI. And of course, machine learning algorithms. There are different types of machine learning algorithms. Of course, I don't want to make deep dive there. But if you uh, just check some documentation, as you see that there's mainly supervised and unsupervised algorithms, and mainly it depends on statistic. If you take in statistic lessons, lectures in the university, you can understand one of one third of the machine learning algorithms, because they are generally depends on the basic statistical models. So because of that, now machine learning algorithms is not a big case for you. The big case is in the data collection, cleaning, and the interpretation. Uh, I think in that point you have to ask right questions. What is your problem? How much data you have? To solve that kind of problems, what kind of data you have to collect? The data you are collected is clear. Where is the data? Who is the ownership of the data? This that kind of things more important than the machine learning algorithms. Okay, I don't say that machine learning algorithms are not important, but the critical thing for especially for engineer, architect, or a company, you should understand what the data I have and what can I do with it. Maybe you have very high quality data, but you don't use it. It is meaningless. For example, you create a model beam, and there are a lot of data on it. You put different things, different text tagging. You make different tagging on the model, but you don't use this data effectively on the site, on the cost, on the time scheduling, or in the facility management. Unfortunately, this is meaningless. So we should think about it. How can I use this data? How can I make my model more valuable for the company? Then nobody talks about return of investment of BIM, because everybody start to see that BIM is working for me to solve my problems and daily problems, and it provides data for me, and I can combine this data with different sources, and I can create good insights for my company, for my project. So I think it is important for the AI side. If you try to talk AI, of course we have to focus on two things: the data and the interface. And then algorithms we can solve in different ways using different tools. Just I want to give the basic information about it. Maybe you heard about more. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. There are subsets of each other. Okay, artificial intelligence more general thing. It is generally programs with the ability to learn and reason like humans. Everything can be artificial intelligence from this perspective. But machine learning is more detailed, is algorithms with the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed, and it depends on the data. And the deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and it uses artificial neural networks. And I think deep learning, of course, you will use deep learning for the vast amount of data. And of course, when you come to that point, you will understand it. I always say that If you can solve your problem with Excel, you don't need machine learning, because if you have a very low limited data, if you can solve your problems with Excel because you have a lot of data, you can combine them. You start to use some software analytic tools, BI, business intelligence tools to understand data. And in a point, you start say that, yes, I solved these insights, but I can use this data to answer my main problems. In that point, machine learning and then deep learning start to work. So it is a step-by-step process. I couldn't understand why people always say, oh, AI powered blah, blah. It is not needed some points, and just you are using AI like an algorithm of statistical algorithm for in the mathematics. So yes, you can use like that, but I know AI is a good marketing tool to sell some products, but it is not, as again, rocket science. Try to simplify it and try to understand it in your daily life. Of course, AI has a different usage areas. I don't want to be deep diving to artificial intelligence, but basically you know it because you are using that kind of translation, Google Translate. For example, information extraction is interesting because you can extract the information from different texts. For example, you have a specification and you need specific data from the specification, not all of them. Specific paragraph, specific. You have to, for example, you want to ask question to a specification. What I mean, you want to ask, for example, electricity consumption of a machinery, and you don't want to search all specifications, just you want to ask it and you want to answer of it from this text. AI can do it for you, or AI can summarize some documents for you. Try to find the important points and summarize it. Of course, speech to text, text to speech, you are using maybe databases, that kind of technologies. Image recognition, again, is important to image and video, to capture the video and image and to give some meaning of it. I think this is very critical to that kind of things. How AI, you can use AI in the construction sector. First, it starts with problem statements, then data analysis, then machine learning models, then test and continuous improvement. Already I gave information about it. And of course, the critical thing is asking proper questions. As I said, you try to ask questions. What are my problems? How can I solve it? Which, for personally, for as an individual, you can ask questions like that. What is my company's problem? What I have to solve it? How can I solve it? That kind of questions carry you a new point as you start to maybe search new tools, but that time nobody try to sell you AI powered blah blah. You have a question to solve, you have a problem to solve, and you start try to find solution for this problem using different technologies. I think it should be like that. It is more useful way to make innovation. Yes. These some dashboard samples we made for our customers about more technology, but I don't want to enter some detail. I try to conclude. But some BIM performance dashboards, some dashboards for BIM performance, again, daily critical warning changed by disciplines, and BIM file size. This all data already inside the Revit, for example, but we try to summarize it for our customer, and what it makes people when see that kind of data dashboards, they start to make some comments about the data. They start to ask more detailed questions about the data, and after all, that kind of questions carrying us more interesting tools or solutions for our customers. Because of that, I always said analytic and business intelligence is a good step to go to AI. This other thing for safety issues by location, IoT-powered excavator location data we collected, and we show that where is the excavator day by day in our weekly location-based report. Personal location data. You can, of course, track your team, your workers, and you try to understand where are the people are working, what are the main problems. That kind of things easily can understood. I think this is another important approach. Issue data, subject of issues, what kind of issues are coming, what are the problems. For example, in this example, other is the first uh, most uh, issues are coming from other subject because people not registered this thing to the selected subject, and they put it to other is not good data for us because what is the other, and we don't know the ingredient of it. So this is one of the problems in the data collection. Yeah, you should classify it effectively. If you can do it, you can use more effectively. Otherwise it start to be problematic. And in decision making, uh, each construction site team member is taking at least 20 critical decisions per day in the construction site. I think this is very, very huge number. Per day, 20 critical decisions. So I think AI can help in that point. AI and different analytical tools to show how you can make that kind of decisions. And you need support. And this you need this decision support not in your office. Whenever you need, you have to reach that kind of support. From the both more technology perspective, we are using digital assistant chatbot to give this decision support. But of course, you can do it different ways. But we should focus on how we can help the people in daily basis in decision making process. And again, 35% of decisions in 1 hour, 45% of decisions are instant. This is very, very critical thing. You're in construction site as a construction manager, for example, and you are giving a decision in 1 hour or are in instantly you are deciding. I think this is very, very not easy thing to do. You can be experienced, but you just say a sentences and you try to solve a problem. And of course, you are human being. You can make mistakes, so you need some support from the technology. And of course, there's different way to do it about your problems, but you have to think about it, and you have to try to design that kind of support ways for you. Yes. Okay. There's some chatbot examples. One of them is activity update with the chatbot. They are using a digital assistant and updating the activity, then sending to it a friend, and it enter a completion percentage for the activity and expected finish date. This is another example, and it sent a picture. Yes, as you see, it he entered some note about the problem and issue management. You can use for the issue management. I don't want to go all over it. It's if you like, you can watch it. Up. Yes, we will continue from there. Generally, we are using digital assistant for support the production because it's proactive, ask questions to technical team, control workflows, make easy data sharing. You can integrate IoT data with digital assistant, and it knows its location and it gives the right data to you. I think it's very important. It makes some suggestions and real-time data flow it can provide and notifications. Of course, at some point, a mobile app can do it, but digital assistant is more proactive, I can say, because you can ask questions directly. Of course, it's an advantage. At that same time, it's a disadvantage. If you don't design your digital assistant properly, it can answer some questions and it start to be annoying. So this is a big problem, but it's about more technology. We are working on it. It's our research and development area, and we have a product about it. So we are developing that kind of things. So this is our way, but of course there are other ways too. But you need to touch the people on the site. It can be digital assistant or it can be mobile app, whatever. And image recognition, as I said, is very, very important again because you can use the image and video to decrease the workload of inspector. Because it is, for example, in this picture, it counts the people, and it understand if the helmet is missing, and it try to understand wet floor, and is about the safety precautions. So I think this is important. Normally, an inspector try to understand, try to count the people. This is very, very not easy thing. Okay, so image recognition and of course video usage on the construction site is so important, that there are a lot of startups doing it. Just check it and Google it, you can find it, and try to use that kind of solutions, because they are a good data source for you. But please think about it. This data should be your data. You can use this data in other parts, other projects, and you can use this data in your, you can combine this data with other data sources. So please be careful about it. Your solution provider should give the data to you. Okay, please check it and ask questions about it. And of course, this camera systems. There's no way a human can control that amount of detail. Blue Dots, one of them, they are doing that kind of solutions. You can check their website too. Facial recognition, especially for the entrance, you can use, of course, that kind of technology. Now we have on our phones that kind of technology, so it is not a high tech at the moment. And the design recommendations, just a sample I think we have here. Design recommendations are important because in the designing, that kind of things will be developed. In the design, like you can think like it, auto correction, spell check in the Word document. As you see in design, that can be some checkers, and it can suggest you some objects to use it, and I think it's a good way and it makes the design better. So that kind of things are very important and for the future of the design. So I think that kind of things are coming in the future. Yes. BIM data labeling, other thing. Labeling problem generally is one of the AI problems. Machine learning can solve that kind of problems. And auto labeling means unknown. There are some unknown building elements in our model, and AI can automatically label them, can put a category to them using, of course, data in the background. And this is again good. Automatic labeling makes life easier and decrease some errors on the model. I think is important. And again, that kind of things are coming. And of course, the point AI can make the models or can design things is not so, is a bit far away. Okay, but there are different steps to help the designer. So because of the designer should understand how can use that kind of technologies in daily life, because it will make your life easier, and it will increase your productivity, and for the individual side it will develop your career. I think you will come a good position in your company using that kind of technologies. Yes, I want to conclude. For one other example, for the excavators, loaders, and haulers can't waste up 40% of their time idling while operators wait for this slot to work. So that kind of workflow optimizations are so critical for sorry, for the machinery and equipment, especially for the excavators and loaders. So it's about again data collection. Afterwards, you can ask the right question: why my loaders are idle at the moment? How can I decrease this idle time? This is the right question, and you can find different solution of it if you collect data effectively. This is the tender optimization. I turn back the first stage of the construction. And of course, tender is so important for a lot of construction companies. If you are working in the tender, you can use AI-driven solutions, because it basically Each tender is specific, but tender process is a repeatable process. Okay, there are a lot of tenders, building tenders or road tenders, different projects tenders, and so this, if you use this data, you can make prediction and optimization about your tender preparation process. I can show a small sample. We, as a Botmore technology, we develop a tool for cost-time relation and to find the risk of a tender project. You are entering cost of the project, you calculate it, and the proposed duration of the project in tender documents. And it automatically use a machine learning algorithm background and make a risk assessment. And it says that this project cannot finish in that duration. There is a high risk. Please be aware of it. This is just basic thing, basic risk assessment tool, just using the cost and duration of the project. But it is important. If you have questions about it, please ask me. I can try to answer it. I don't want to take your time so much. And of course, procurement. AI can be used in the procurement, and AI, and of course, blockchain can be used in procurement stage because there's a contracts, especially in the contracts, you can use blockchain, and AI. You can use AI to optimization of the supply chain, supply risk management, purchasing, payments, spend analysis, new supplier identification, strategic sourcing planning. That kind of things can be managed by the help of the AI. And of course, blockchain can help you to create transparent supply chains. Of course, other thing for the supply chain is sustainability, because your supply chain in the construction sector directly affected your carbon footprint. And now you know the new legislations, new targets of the governments. So carbon zero targets are not easy to reach. So you have to work on the supply chain to optimize it. And I think AI is a good way to do it. AI and data collection, again, is so critical. If you have questions about it, please just ask me. You can make comment about it. And basic AI strategy: identify use case, don't focus on technology, focus on problems. Use smarter construction services. This will be a competitive advantage for your company and for yourself, for your professional life. Solve your problems in smarter ways. Use different services. Use different approach. You will see that this will make your life easier, and this will make your professional life brighter. Construction process optimization: design, construct, operate, and connect it with data structure. Create a data structure and connect it with data structure. Select 3 quick win AI case for your company. Select proper technology. Pilot and test, go live. I think it's an iterative process, but believe me, AI strategy is so critical. Companies should have an AI strategy for themselves. They should update it yearly basis, because everything is changing so fast. So I think it is so critical for the success of construction companies in the near future. Thank you very much for your time. Please follow me in LinkedIn. You can send me email, aydın.özçekici@botmore.co.uk. You can visit our website, www.botmore.co.uk, or just comment to this stream, under the stream, and I try to answer your questions about construction technology and other things. You try to ask about how AI you can use, how other tools you can use, which technologies are better. We can talk about it. Thank you very much for your time, and see you again in near future, I hope. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.